And we are live. What's up, beasties? It's me, it's Triple B, your friendly neighborhood bearded book beast. Welcome back to another episode of Beast Friends Forever. Woo! And we have an awesome guest tonight, one that I'm very excited to have on Beast Friends Forever. I've been talking to them for a very long time in chat, and it'll be nice to talk face to face and get to hang out with all you beasties in the chat. And also on replay. Thank you if you're watching this on replay. But I'm talking about someone who is very, very talented. They are a fantastic author, a great illustrator. They have started and created so many things, including a brand new Kickstarter that we'll talk about. And I'm talking about the lovely and amazing Livia J. Elliot. How you doing?
Hey there. All good, and you? Thank you so much for inviting me.
Yes, you're welcome. It's long overdue. We've been talking too long for you to not been on Beast Friends Forever.
Yeah,
so
honestly.
So I'm excited you're here. We've got a couple people in the chat already. We've got author Tim McKay. How you doing, Tim? Thanks for being here.
Hi, Tim.
And Prowess Games is here.
That's my partner.
Yeah. helps you with Unearthed Stories and your whole thing, which is pretty awesome. And Britton from Some Okie Dude. What's up, Britton? Thanks for being here, man. So yeah,
Britton is the one guilty that my TBR is about to explode because he keeps giving me the best book recommendations ever.
Well, he gives really good book ones, and then he'll talk about some comics or graphic novels, and I'm like, oh man, I know he's always talking about really cool stuff. He is the man. We'll shout out some more people as they pop in and make comments, but I'm just so excited that we get to chat. And for us here, if you're Eastern Standard Time like I am, it's late, but for you it's bright and early, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. So what time is it where you are?
It's Australia, and it is 10:30 a.m. in the morning. Okay. So that's why.
So not super bright and early.
Hitting hard. No, it's not that early. Yeah.
You've already been knocking things out and posting things and kicking butt.
Yeah, I generally tend to wake up early, and in here in Australia, it's like either you post early in the morning or socials are dead.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. Turn some of these lights off now. So what time do you normally get up? Like, what's your normal internal alarm clock that you wake up?
So for my podcast, I have done some early 5 a.m., which means that I have had to wake up at 4 something. And those were because I had multiple time zones, guests of UK and both coasts of the US and then Australia. And it was like, that was the only slot I could find.
Oh, well, that's dedication to getting up at 4 a.m. for that. Oh my goodness.
I don't do that often, so it's hopefully it's only mostly during the once in a while and during when the daylight savings go off for Australia and everything is further apart in those cases.
It throws everything off, right? Oh, that makes sense. All right, so we are here to talk about a lot of things, but the first thing that I want to talk about is the Kickstarter that is live now. Yeah. It'll be linked down in the description below. Anyone in the chat or anyone on replay for Dance With Me, it'll be linked down below, and Livia's website, and linked to Unearthed Stories, which we'll talk about all that, but it's all in the description down below, so you can all check it out. So tell us a little bit about Dance With Me and the Kickstarter.
Yeah, so Dance With Me actually started as an interactive story on Unearthed Stories, and it was actually among the first 5 that we released on 2022. So I wrote it quite a while. Of course, I wrote it as interactive. And last year, I was talking to my partner, and we were just like, the second anniversary is coming, like, where did time go? And second, we have to do something to celebrate. Right. And he told me straight away, you have to novelize Dance With Me. And because it was like the most impactful and the most personal of the 5 sets, the 5 original stories. And what I did basically for this one is so for the book version, I extended some scenes that you don't get as, so they are in the interactive version, but they aren't as long. And yeah, most of that I changed some bits as well. I added a bit of more comments around the characters, the secondary characters, to give them a backstory that you could miss on the interactive version.
Oh,
And
nice.
I had to actually just pick one path. So if you play the interactive version, there are things that may happen that are not in the book.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
so
I wondered how
yeah,
you did that.
and
Okay.
it was a whole thing, especially because in the interactive, I need to be pretty consistent. Basically, when you're writing a book, if you're in chapter 4, you can assume that the reader read everything before,
Yeah,
right?
right.
You can assume they skip the prologue, but not everything else. But in interactives, you need to take into account whether they chose one path or the other, because suppose that in the bit or in the dialogue with a secondary character, your reader player didn't give a specific bit of information, then the secondary character cannot know that, so it cascades, right? So I
Oh,
had
yeah.
to basically keep track of all of that as I was trying to do a novelization, you know.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, that
That,
was it was pretty interesting. It was the first time that I actually novelized anything, so it
yeah.
was a learning path, definitely.
Oh, man. John Stevenson just popped in to say good night because he's got to go pass out because it is late for him. So thanks for stopping by, John. We appreciate it, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's so interesting how did you decide, because sometimes some bad things happen, like choose your own, because I've
Yeah.
done some of the Unearthed Stories, which are so cool. Again, link down below. People should check it out.
Thank you.
And sometimes with those, as we all remember from when we were kids, just like with yours, sometimes you get a bad thing happens depending on your choices, which is cool. How did you decide in the story when to let bad things happen, when to let good things happen? Did you like map it out where you knew if you make these choices you get to this ending? How did you decide that? Because I thought you did it perfectly because it's such a good story. But I just wonder how you
Thank you.
decided. Did you make any choices and then have to be like, ooh, actually no, and go back and change it? Or how did you decide?
Oh, that bit is actually quite complex. So it depends on the story. For
Okay.
example, Restorers that's a sci-fi. Let me show you the
Oh
cover.
yeah.
So Restorers is among the first. That's a novelette sized, but it has 6 endings. So it
Oh wow.
was easier to actually track the endings because the story was short, and so
Mhm.
I had fewer choices. But for example, Mean, which is actually sort of sequels for my other series, the one that you have behind you.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So yeah,
Boom.
that one is actually 110,000 words. So tracking the choices, and it has 4 endings.
Oh
Tracking
man.
the choices for that one, I actually had to make a mind map, and
Oh
I
yeah.
had like for every path a list of what the character had said, who knew what, and what I needed to link in depending on the following choices. So I had like a whole thing knowing that exactly per chapter how I needed to link things back.
Oh man.
That one was quite complex. Then
Yeah.
I did another one. For example, this one, the choices are different. It's more about where you go and which places you visit because it's a dungeon crawler. So if you hadn't gone, for example, to the library within there were things you couldn't know. So it
Yeah.
was more around knowledge rather than interacting with other characters. In Dance With Me in particular, it was just a matter of tracking exactly which choices, and I had them basically named. I have all the choices named, so I knew exactly which ones. It's kind of like a scripting system
Okay.
that we developed. Yeah. So in that case, I also have a background in programming, so it was sort of easier. So basically, what I did was peel off just the path that I wanted. And then I started adding to it and making it cohesive for the novelization. It was a bit interesting as well because I wrote that in 2022, right?
Oh
Even
wow.
if it was published in 2023,
Yeah.
I think it was, yeah, I wrote it at the end of 22. So my style has changed a bit, and I wanted to be very careful because I didn't want to change the style.
Mhm, mhm.
I needed to be consistent with my old self
Right.
to some extent. So
Which is hard to
yeah,
do
that was
sometimes.
also, yeah, I think so. And it was an interesting learning experience in terms of like oh, I did that in the past and I'm not doing it now. I wonder why, Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. Good to be reflective. I agree.
Yeah.
Um,
I think that
so,
the path that I changed the most in dance is that in the interactive version, you know that there is a replacement figure that appears on
oh
the
yeah.
half of the story. Yeah. In the interactive version, you can pick whether it is another ballerina or is a dancer,
Oh,
right? And if
okay.
you pick the ballerina, she feels there are a lot of talks about being replaced
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's
yeah.
a like for like
Oh yeah.
replacement,
Yep, yep.
Yeah. And I had
Oh,
to chop
okay.
all of that. And yeah, it was interesting that part.
Interesting. That is interesting. Okay. Now I'm gonna have to go back and do the interactive one because I didn't do that one. I need to do it just so I can see the differences and what can happen. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was also around for example, how you link the paragraphs to the choices as well. I think that in the interactives, let me see if I can show it how it works. In the interactives, I felt that I could, so you will have the paragraphs
Oh yeah.
and you have the
Mhm.
choices, right?
Yep.
In the interactive, I felt that I could link the dialogue a bit less to the paragraph because it makes sense. You are seeing the choice, it's waiting for you,
Right.
but in the
Yep.
book, I had to link that better. But if
Mhm.
I add more of that linkage in the interactive, then it becomes too wordy. I would say, I will say it's a very balanced way of writing on the interactives. It's pretty different as well.
Yeah. Very interesting. Um, did you had the physical copy of Dance with Me? You held that up earlier, right?
I have both. So
Oh,
this
let's
is a
see that
paperback,
pretty cover.
and this is a hardback.
Oh,
And the
so
hardback, actually, let me do it outside of the mic. If you so,
oh,
this is the dash jacket. The dash jacket is the one that I designed
oh,
myself,
so
and this
nice.
is the original graphite cover. But that
Nice.
cover, it's actually the one from the game.
Oh, wow, okay. That's cool.
Yeah,
I didn't even notice that. You're right. Oh,
yeah,
that's
that's why
cool.
we put them up here. And
I
in the
love
game, you can get. In the game, you also have all the same illustrations that in this, than actually just in the paperback. The hardback has two additional illustrations,
Mhm.
but because the interactive has, the fact that you can pick the ballerina, you can
Right.
get that illustration that is not in the books.
Oh, that's
So,
true. Ooh, okay.
yeah,
So that's a little incentive to check out the interactive story too. That's
yeah.
cool.
So you can get one or the other depending who you choose.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
I love all the now those illustrations on in the interactive stories and inside the book.
Amazing.
Did you do those or were those by
No,
somebody else?
so
Okay.
those are, let me show you one. So those are actually from a Mexican artist. He's
Okay.
called Jose Arturo Bustamante. And these are actually graphite
Yeah.
illustrations. So they
So
were
cool.
made in graphite by hand. And
That's
then
really
he scanned them. And then I just basically raised the contrast so that
oh
it will look better in the
yeah.
screen.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah. And then, of course, cropped it for the
Yeah,
format
yeah.
and everything. The
Yeah.
ones in here have a, yeah, the ones in the book, in the physical, they are a bit more squarish. So
Oh yeah.
the other ones are far more vertical. So
Mhm.
this is one of my
Oh,
favorites.
me too. I love that one.
Yeah, it's I love the level of detail that one has in
Oh
particular.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful illustrations. Now those are that hardback is what you can get through the Kickstarter, right?
You can get both. So the
And the
hardback
big
is the primary one, and if we are currently going for the fifth stretch goal,
yeah.
and if we
Killing it.
reach that one, we will actually do some inserts for the
Oh, nice.
hardcover, which will be a
Ooh,
short story that
okay.
is a letter between two of the characters, of the secondary characters,
That's
and
cool.
you can also get so. You can see this is already done, so the risk is pretty low. You can also get the audiobook, which is already fully recorded, and the narrator is called Alison Phoenix. She's
Wow.
amazing.
Oh,
Like
that's
she's
awesome.
amazing. I put up some reels on my Instagram everywhere. Like the voices she did. She even managed to get all the accents, that they have some French accents
Yeah.
sometimes, some of the characters. For one, she even sang for one of the characters who has
Oh,
like a
wow.
singing cadence. It's
That's so
amazing. And
cool.
there are some tiers in which you can also get the paperback. So you can get both the
Okay.
hardback and the paperback in some tiers. Yeah.
Oh,
So
and I'm excited. I haven't decided which one I'm torn between, because I want the hardback for sure, but then like I'm like, it'd be kind of cool to have the paperback too. So I gotta decide though. I gotta decide quick.
I will say go for the hardback and the audiobook, because we have the if you pledge only for the hardback, you only get it signed, but the tiers above get it signed and numbered.
Oh,
And
yeah.
the most expensive tiers get it signed, numbered, and dedicated.
Oh
So
man,
you can
that's
get
pretty cool. That's pretty cool. You
yeah,
have a lot of cool tiers on there. I like how you set it up.
yeah.
You did a good job
And
with it.
we also have funny stuff. Like there is one tier which we actually sold a few already, that you will get like polymer clay earrings, the
I
ones that I
saw
make,
that. That's cool.
themed.
Cause
Yeah,
you make them, right? The earrings?
yeah. I
So
make them.
cool.
That's what I always have funny things on my ears.
Oh,
And
is there
then
anything you
there
can't
is
do, Livia? I tell you.
there is another one in which I will actually write an interactive story based on your pet. So
Oh,
if you have
wow,
a
that's
cat or a
pretty cool.
dog, I will need some details and things that
Yeah,
will
yeah,
be
yeah.
organized on the survey. But yeah, after that I will write, and those are
Oh,
for
man.
a cozy fantasy series that's only interactive. That's called The World of Delirai. So
Oh,
for now, I'm trying to keep it only to cats and dogs, mostly
yeah,
because those are the ones I know. And yeah,
yeah. I like that. That's cool. That is awesome. Oh man, very, very cool. All right. So the story, Dance with Me, I want to talk about a little bit. I
yeah.
absolutely loved it. I mean, I love your
Oh, thank
writing,
you.
and the story was it's got such a real life, like deep meaning to it. But it's just done so cool in a fantasy setting that we all know and love, fantasy, with all the different figurines. It's just so cool. But talk a little bit about how you came up with the idea for the story, and also when you were writing it, kind of some of your inspiration for it, because I think you did such a great job with characters too. But not even just the main character, like that was awesome. The ballerina was incredible, but just so many different perspectives from the other characters, because the main thing of it is dealing with abuse and how that can make a
Yeah.
person feel. But I thought you did such a great job, even then taking it further and looking at how these other characters around her,
No, thank you.
what it was like to deal with someone you cared about who had been abused, and what that's like for them too. And it was just so good. Very, very good. I
Oh,
was very
thank you.
impressed. So just talk to us a
You're
little bit
very
about
kind.
that. Oh, well,
No.
so are you.
So there are a lot of parts to your question. Let me try to cover all
There
those.
are.
So
I said a lot.
yeah. So how everything started, let's just say that I'm quite a visual person. I tend to think a lot in terms of metaphors or things like
Mhm.
that. Even when things happen or when I try to explain myself to others, I won't go and say like I'm frustrated. I will probably come up with something colorful to explain
Yeah,
the
yeah.
frustration. And in that case, I wasn't at a very good time
Mhm.
in early 2022, and I I literally felt like a ceramic teacup that had been thrown to the floor, scratched, cracked, shattered, and then kept back together, glued back together
Mhm.
to keep working. And I went to work, and when during those hours, my mind kept refining that idea. And when I came back, I sort of evolved that metaphor into the concept of having this music box and you have a ballerina on top, mostly because a music box will be a confined space, that
Mhm.
she felt trapped in there.
Right.
And so I wrote a short story actually, and that was, can't recall correctly, but it was probably late or mid 2021.
Okay.
And on 2022, when we were doing Unearthed Stories, I said like, okay, I'm going to start with this one, but I'm going to go farther behind, because the short story was actually just like the ending, this like a summary of the second half of the story and with far less characters. And so I went in and I wanted to tell the whole story, how someone that was as innocent as Lyra, which is the main character,
Mhm.
could change completely as things were happening as well. And there were a few facets to that. One is that if you notice when the book starts, she's literally awakened to life by magic. So basically, yeah, that's her birth to
Right.
some extent.
Mhm.
And I wanted to
Yeah.
do that to convey the innocence of life. more or less, and the innocence of youth. The fact that nothing has ever happened to you, therefore you have that
Right.
innocence that the world
Yeah.
is okay, people aren't evil. And
Yeah.
then it just goes downward from there. And so that also helped me because, for example, when she meets the twin sisters, which is the first two secondary characters that she meets,
Mhm.
she's very nasty to them because
Yeah.
they are quite broken, they are quite fractured and shattered, and one of them even has like the nose sandy, and that's because they also went through their things. But as the book happens, or the plot happens, everything starts to change, and Lyra actually feels like they are still going, and I just have a chip, So it's like everything that happens puts things into perspective for her as well.
Yeah.
And with the secondary characters in particular, I wanted to show different things. For example, Behati and Margot, the one that I showed the image, I wanted to tackle kind of like two different sides of a motherly character. One is, Behati simply hugs her, and that's that appreciation that sometimes doesn't need words.
Right.
While Margot is more upbeat and is just trying to cheer her up and give her something, even though she doesn't have the emotional output that she will need. And the other characters, for example, Andre and so they try to understand her, but without pushing her. And Gerard, which is the last one that you meet, he's more like a professor, actually.
Yeah.
And he's less emotional, but it doesn't mean emotional in how he speaks, but it doesn't mean that he's less emotional in terms of what he understands.
Yeah.
So he's more of the embodiment of, I understand it at a logical level and can put it into an emotional level. So that's why he
Yeah.
comes across a bit more harsh, right?
Mhm.
And then, yeah, I also wanted to convey that all of these other characters have been living there for so long, and
Mhm.
started adding like smaller lines of dialogue that will add to the background. Like there are two that are actually a couple, there are three
Yeah.
that are actually a trio of friends or that do things,
Yeah.
And sometimes I will say like comments that sound like an inner joke between them.
Yeah.
And sometimes Lyra doesn't even react because she doesn't realize that there is a connection there, or they
Right.
even have nicknames for each other. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, that was good. You did like it's
Thank you.
wild how you came up with all these different characters, and you did such a good job too, because I mean it's not like this huge long book. It's it's a smaller
It's pretty short. Yeah.
package, yeah. But somehow you just made all the characters, even the side characters, like just come alive and all have their own little quirky personalities. And you made it in just a short amount of time. You made me love them all. So I think
Oh,
you are a
thank you.
very talented writer. You did a great job, and people need to check out this book because it's a good read, but it's also an important read. I think it really speaks to a lot of important things,
Yeah.
and it's a good time too.
Yeah, that's something. Thank you for that. And that's also something that a lot of people reached out when I sent it to the beta readers and to the ARC
Mhm.
readers. A lot of people read the allegory of the ballerina and the boy, the toys being
Oh
locked
yeah.
in the cupboard in different ways. Like some people read that as an employer and an employee. Other
Oh
people read it as a romantic relationship.
yeah.
Other people read it as a filial relationship, so parents, children,
Yeah. Yeah.
because the power dynamic can be read in
Right.
different ways. And I think
That's
that's
very true.
I know exactly why I was writing it in 2022, but I love the allegories because they have that flexibility, like
Yeah.
everybody can add that part of meaning or their
Right.
own interpretation to it to make something that is even bigger and greater, I would say, than the original.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah, it can hit so many people in so many different ways, and that's
Yeah.
you did something special for sure. I
Oh,
agree.
thank you.
Pretty awesome. Um, okay, so we're gonna switch gears a little bit in a second, and I want
Yeah.
to talk about your journey into just writing in general and your kind of author's journey and artist journey. But before we do that, I have a question for you, Livia.
Yeah.
Do you like really cheesy dad jokes?
Yes.
All right, so I'm gonna give you three options. Do you want to
Okay.
hear a dad joke about planets, about rabbits, or about or about cows?
Planets.
Planets? Okay. This one is it's pretty cheesy. Okay. What kind of music do planets like?
I have no idea. The Sounds of Silence.
Neptunes.
That's amazing.
But Neptunes. That's a good cheesy one.
That's a good one. It's a good one.
Oh man. All right. Good choice. Good choice. All right. So take us back to when you were just a little Livia, and tell us about maybe when you got into reading, but also when you got into writing, some of the inspiration
Yeah.
along the way, and kind of how through your life you got to the point where you thought, I'm gonna do this writing thing for real, and because you've got more than just the writing thing going on with starting Unearthed Stories. I kind of want to know how you got into that too. So I know that's a very broad question to ask.
That's okay.
I just kind of want to hear about your journey of how you got into this world of reading and fantasy and all that, but then got to the point where you loved writing and creating so much that you wanted to do your own thing.
Yeah, so I started reading like pretty young. I was taught to read like very early. So I started probably reading at 6, 7. Some of the earliest books that I read in terms of fantasy, it was Dune, which I have here, but you can see that one.
Okay.
Dune. So yeah. I read that one first. I think I was 12. And it was, of course, at that time I was reading in Spanish, which is my native language.
Yeah.
And yeah, from there I went to read probably supernatural mysteries, because there were a lot in my house of them. And, it was a mystery and everything that pumped me there. But then after, I kept reading sci-fi mostly because I like the big idea sci-fi.
Yeah.
And yeah, I actually didn't get into reading fantasy until far later, but I was more into fantasy games like Shining Forces or Dragon Age Origins, those type. Devil May Cry. I loved Devil May Cry, but more games that actually, games that had a story.
Have you watched the new show that they made?
The second season I haven't.
Oh, you watched the first season though?
Yeah, the first season,
nice.
yeah. And I didn't play the last one. The last one I haven't played yet. Yeah, I played until the 4th. Yeah.
Yep. That's pretty cool.
I really like that. Yeah.
Go ahead.
That's okay. So, writing, I also started very young. Also, in that, when I was little, I was just more like exploring. I didn't have like teachers that actually liked genre fiction. They liked, regular, yeah.
The usual stuff they make you read in school, right?
Yeah, but they weren't too into it, so I didn't quite progress. In my teens and later, when I was on uni, I had a blog in which I would publish serialized fiction in Spanish as well. And that lasted for a bit. And then those were all they were all original stories. I don't write fan fiction. And it lasted for a couple years. Then life happened, didn't write anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think it was in 2020 when I told my partner, like, I really wanted to write. And besides being my knight in shining armor, he's an enabler. And he was like, go write.
Oh, that's awesome.
So,
I say that's a round of applause for them. That is fantastic. For someone to just be like, do it, dude. Go after your dream. That's amazing.
Yeah. And so I wrote the first story. It was a bit unfortunate because the first story that I picked to write, to actually try to go to market, it was a story that currently I have been trying to write for 16 years. But back then I didn't have, let's just say it was far more complex than what I could have written back then, that I didn't have that much skill. And it wasn't very to market, and I was trying to go traditional, so that didn't help. And went to write a few short stories, tried to query a few things, didn't work. And so I sort of quit, mostly because at that moment I didn't really know much about self-publishing. It was more of the that's the only path I knew, and that's okay. I didn't try
Yeah.
to actually investigate a bit, even though my partner was like, try to go Indian. And I was just like,
Yeah.
nah, it doesn't work. So after I left almost for like 8 months or something like that, and I was pretty depressed and sad. And so my partner, Prowess Games, that's his handle on Twitter. He's actually a game developer. And he came in and told me like one day, let's make a video game together of interactive stories, and you're just going to write whatever you want. I will publish you. And that's how Unearthed Stories came to be. That's why, if you look at it,
Wow.
it's US us because we are cheesy.
Oh,
So
I
yeah,
love that.
that's why he's in everything. That's why he
That
does
is so
everything.
cool.
And yeah, he has quite a lot of expertise into analyzing and editing the interaction between mechanics and storytelling, which isn't as straightforward as you get in a book. And I was quite worried that I didn't know who could edit the interactive stories,
Mhm.
and he went through that, and we developed the original mechanics together. So it's not only a choice. For example, in Restorers, which is a sci-fi, you could get 4 choices of the same, and that's basically because the theme is that choices enable knowledge enables choice, and so if you always pick to not learn, to not investigate, then your choices get reduced.
Mhm.
Or in Dance with Me, the strike through text that you have in the novel, it started as choices that get stricken through and then rejected, and the character does something different.
Yeah.
Which is quite frustrating, but it adds to the metaphor,
Yeah. I
to the
really
idea that
enjoyed that.
yeah. So in that case, it's a bit more active because you choose, but then the game just rejects it,
Yeah.
which is it's a bit strange. And then in other stories, we did weird things, like for example, I think Means of Egress is one of the most complex. It has 182 pathways throughout the story. It was sheer nonsense writing it. And it also breaks the fourth wall in the sense that it kicks you out of the story at specific points because it fits a narrative. And so we investigated a lot of those things together, like how we could do it and how we will need to develop the system and everything. And yeah, that's how it started. And then of course, I wanted to go back to publishing books.
Mhm.
And it turns out that in one of these stories, which is Mean, you're not going to see it there. So in Mean, this one, I did a lot of world building, the writer's rabbit hole. I just, did a lot of world building, and I really like that. And so I decided, like, I'm going to turn this into a series. And so the one that you have there, The Genesis of Change, came to be. And that's why, yep, this one.
Such a cool cover. Now you did this
I did it
cover,
myself.
right? Yeah. That looks
And
awesome.
the map on that one I did myself as well. So
Oh yeah.
that's how it started, that one, because I just did too much of that map.
Oh yeah.
I did a lot of world building, and so that happened. And I also liked in that one in particular, I liked a lot of the philosophy. So the magic system is alchemy blended with philosophy, and it's a bit of the idea that you can think things into existence, basically, and that's how they do it, by understanding. Oh,
That's all right.
that's okay. So that's how it started, and I'm actually writing the first book for that one. So the first book in the main series, and
It's cool. Very cool. Well, I love that your journey, and I'm glad that you went on it because we all get to know you and we get to experience everything you've created so far, which is awesome.
Thank you.
Now, did you, from a young age, did you really enjoy like design and art like you do with your covers also, or was that something you learned once you started to get into writing?
So I actually started with doing very poor Photoshop collages and mashups in my teens, and with dubious quality, I will say. And I think it's mostly that I have picked up a lot of skills, and I'm also like, if I find something that I need, I rather learn. That's always my approach, I'd rather learn. And when we were starting with Unearthed Stories, I'm going to be honest, we had a very limited budget. So we had to pick and we
Yeah.
picked to actually do the illustrations for Dance With Me with an illustrator. So we had,
Mhm.
yeah, it was, and then we were like, what do we do with the rest of the story? So I'm going to do that. That's how I ended up doing the covers for everything. And actually, some of the covers that are there are not the originals. For example, Min had a different cover as well. And
Oh yeah.
because when I got a bit better, I
Yeah.
changed them and we did something better. I always do the headers as well. Then they have the update name on the title as well. And for the invited writers stories, which you helped on the cover reveal of a few,
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
actually started illustrating them. So I was doing. Yeah, that's Carl's Show, and then we have
Yeah.
Bethany Garcia, we have
That's that
Thomas,
one. Yeah.
Thomas J. Evans, and we have Joshua Walker as well.
Oh.
And yeah, so for those, I was just like, my chance to illustrate. And I was trying to do it digitally. I have a very old tablet to illustrate. So yeah,
And you do a
it's
good
not,
job.
thank you. I'm just doing like whatever fits my skills. And within that, I can, like the
Right?
cover for Bethany actually took me quite a bit. I had to rework it like 3 times because I wasn't happy with it. And
Oh
we
wow.
had an
Okay.
idea and I was just trying to fit something there. So yeah.
Oh,
It depends
that
on
one
what
is
I can get
so
for
good.
them.
That one
Yeah,
is
that
so
one is
good.
pretty nice. Yeah. I wanted to keep the motif of her covers with the
Yeah, I was gonna
silhouette,
say. Yep. It
Yeah.
really matched with her books, which was really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. So with that one, we actually discussed a few times on the silhouette because if we were considering something like a dagger or things like that, but it wouldn't look nice. So yeah.
Oh yeah.
I put up a lot of effort on those. Yeah.
Well, that is very cool. We had a couple
Yeah.
more people pop in. El
Yeah.
Montague is here. What's up, El? Thanks for being here. No
Hi
problem, my
there.
friend. And JCM Joe Byrne is here. Yeah, we're gonna start now, Joe. We haven't
Now.
started yet. We're just chatting and waiting for you. Now that you're here, now we can start. And I agree with Joe. Carl is awesome. I've chatted
Yeah.
with him. He's fantastic, and I
So
got Rick
actually,
so I could read it.
this story fits between Renia and the second book, but it's a
Yeah.
standalone and it's an entry point. So even if you
Yep.
didn't read Renia, you can go and read that one as well. And
Yep.
I'm a bit biased, but I really like. You have
I
to just an advice. You have to play both paths because he did it in a way that you to get the full picture. You need to play
Oh,
both
okay.
pathways. So yeah,
I'll have to go back because I did it and I did one pathway and I really enjoyed
yeah.
it. It was really good. And then I bought Renia because I'm like I gotta read his book now. But I'll have to go
Yeah.
back so I can get the other one.
So the gist on that one is that you have to get the black ending and the white ending.
Okay.
So one ending finishes with a white screen, one
Okay.
finishes with a black screen. You need to get both. With
I got
both, you get the full picture. Yeah.
Okay, I got the white screen ending. So I'll have to go back and get it. That's cool. I didn't know that. Okay. All right, I'm gonna have to do that. Very cool.
I'm not enabling you.
You are. Now I'm doing it. All right. I have a few questions about your writing process when you're writing that I want to ask. So, when you are writing, first off, and I'm interested in this because of you've written books and novellas, but you also do the choose your own adventure story. So I'm curious. There's a basic spectrum for writers. There's a plotter who plots everything out in detail and sticks to it, and then there's a pantser who plots and plans nothing and just sits down and lets go and just writes and sees what happens. On that spectrum, where would you say you fall? Are you do you cheat one way more than the other all the time? Does it depend on the story? Are you like right in the middle?
I'm actually I'm an extreme plotter. I can't
I
write if I
figured you
don't
kind of
have a
had to
plot.
be for the
If I
choose
don't
your
have
own
a plot,
adventure.
I can't write.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, there is a single one story that I punt, and it's this one, Reflections. The rest of it, that one is actually quite quirky, but the rest of it I can't write. If I don't have a plot, I can't write. And I go to the extreme of I start very high level, so with the setting. And I think I generally have like the idea of where I want to go or the theme because I mostly write driven by the themes on the story. So once I have the theme or the central allegory that I want to cover in that specific book. I say like, okay, if I want to go there, where do I start? And what elements of the world building do I need? Once I define that, I start like an onion, peeling layers until I get to the core. And sometimes, so from there, I will probably go into the character's backstory. I will go into more details into the scenes in particular. Sometimes I actually just draft the entire dialogue with the body beats, like in a very clumsy way, and then I just write over that because I need it that detailed. So it depends on how I. Yeah, there are other things and other scenes in which I actually just challenge myself to do something different. And Unearthed Stories, I always call it my playground because I try to experiment in there. Like I try to do different things, and sometimes I say like, oh, there is a lot of advice that I cannot do that. I'm going to do it so I can learn why it doesn't work, or I get an idea. For example, most of the stories which you have read, they are first person, that's why. But Reflections is actually second person because the character is speaking to the player, and I wanted to do something very concrete on that one. So the way you respond, you also respond with you because you, the player, are talking to the character, So there are some things around that. And Means of Egress actually has two POVs. One is on first person, one is on third person. So the third person attempts to narrate the story of the first person. And so basically they are telling you what to do on the story, and you have to rewrite it on your own because you are playing, right? Yeah.
That's cool.
So it also fits into the theme of that story, which is basically sometimes in life we get an imposed narrative. They tell us where to go, where to study, or they may tell, go to uni because otherwise you're going to be a nobody. And you have plenty of stories of people that didn't do or change career paths very late on their lives, So there is a lot to that. And that's basically the central point on that one. And then on the last one that I released last year, which is a sci-fi, Static Signal Living Legacy, that one is actually multi-POV. So like you will get in a book, every chapter follows a different character, and then they start mixing. So I had to find a way so that the choices of one will actually affect another POV and that the reader could actually see them. So I had a lot of fun with that one, and I think it's the most fast-paced. So if you want an entry point, that's a great one. And it has also two different endings, and it's set in Australia because I had to.
Well, you had to. Yeah, I would say you got to get one in there for sure. Oh, that's cool. That is awesome. You have so many fun, different things that people can check out, different points of views, different genres. Like it's awesome what you're doing. I love it.
Thank you. That's very kind of you. Yeah, I try to play different things on those as well. And the latest one that I released, which is Our Own Rhythm, that's basically in the same universe as Dance With Me, but it's just a standalone. So you don't have to read Dance With Me. You can read that one first if you want. It's the same concepts of dolls, enchanted dolls doing something with a quite personal theme, generally around self-development. So yeah.
Very cool. Okay, next question. You're welcome. Next question is, when you're writing, so when you've got a story that you got to get done, or a book or a novella, anything that you're working on, do you write? Are you like a creature of habit? Do you write at the same time every day? Do you set goals like daily or weekly goals, or do you just kind of take it day by day and write whenever it works, whatever time of day, however much you can get that day, and you just worry about the end goal? Like, where do you fall in those two things?
I think it depends a lot on what I'm working at the moment, because I need to. So I have a day job, so I need to just do everything on the other side, And I also need to read the books for my podcast, write the podcast, write the newsletter, So I have a few things there. And I generally try to time the days that I know I'm less productive. So days that I'm very tired after work or things like that, to do things like reading or writing for the podcast. And then for writing, I try to keep specific times. I generally, when I sit, I just try to write for a long period. And in terms of what I want to achieve, I generally tend to put up goals. Like I want to finish this chapter, or I want to get the I don't know, the plotting done or something like that. I want to plot up to here.
I like that.
But yeah. And sometimes I severely miscalculate and get also severely frustrated. So sometimes I can be pretty accurate, but also sometimes I can be awful on that. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, you can't be perfect at everything, I guess.
Yeah. And
Oh man.
besides, sometimes I think it's more because I sometimes I say, yeah, I could do this in, I don't know, a morning, and then
Right.
turns
Yeah.
out that I'm not able to actually put up everything that I want into the chapter,
Yeah.
and then I'm
Mhm.
having a crisis, and then I have to rework it. So yeah,
Yeah. Well, yeah, because I mean, you talked about how you're way more of a plotter. So if you, I mean, I'm sure that is kind of in your personality. So if you're like, I'm gonna have this done by the end of this day, and then it's not
yeah.
done, it's like, oh well, now tomorrow I'm supposed to do this. I don't have time to do this. So yeah, I could
That
see
happens
that
a lot.
snowballing.
And even if I'm a plotter, something is that it may work in my mind, but it may not
Right.
work on paper.
That's true.
So
Yeah.
sometimes I have had to adjust midway because I
Yeah.
couldn't. It wasn't really working, or it will take me far more words that I wanted, or it will take the
Yeah.
story in a way that I really didn't want to. I will need to add more scenes. So that has happened a lot, that I had to rework things. Um, yeah, with Genesis that you have there, I actually
Mhm.
had like a section that was actually quite difficult to write, that I needed to
Oh
come back
wow.
and forth a few
Okay.
times. And with Means of Egress, the dungeon crawler that I mentioned,
Mhm.
I had a case that I didn't listen when my partner was telling me, you are going to have a scope creep. And I just wanted to have so many rooms in the dungeon,
Oh yeah.
and you could go in any one in order, and then I couldn't write them. Because one thing is procedural and visual, and another thing is writing that.
Yeah. That's true.
So
That's true.
yeah. So writing it was far more complex than I was actually expecting, and I
Yeah.
had to start trimming down the options and putting up pieces of, now suddenly there is a wall, you can't go there anymore, things like that, that I had to adjust.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's good that you're able to. I mean,
yeah,
when it doesn't go the way you plan and you have to readjust and change, that's good that you're able to do that and not like get stuck. And because I know some people who are really far on the plotter side, if something's not working, they just get stuck. They don't know what to do because it's
yeah.
not, that's good that you can, adapt and keep moving so that you can get it done.
I'm I'm pretty analytical, so when something is not working, I just go like, why isn't working? Is it the character? Am I missing the plot? I'm not being able to
Yeah,
do that. Okay, if I'm not being able to do this, why am I not being able to do
yeah,
it?
yeah.
Am I missing something? Is a wording? Is a style? Is something in the narrative? So I get
Right.
very in depth of, like I do in my podcast. I can get
Yeah,
very in depth on to how I do, because if I learn what's wrong, then I can
right.
fix it and
Yeah.
work with it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and a little bit of that, your love of mysteries from when you were young that you talked about.
probably.
It is
Yeah.
solving the mystery. That's
I
good.
loved Sherlock Holmes when I was
Oh,
little.
me too. Me too. Oh, so
The
good.
Baskervilles Hound was my favorite
Oh, yeah, that
when
is
I
good.
was yeah.
Oh man. I found a one time I was at a library and they had like a library sale where it's like fill
Yeah.
a paper bag for like $1, just fill this big bag for $1. And I found tucked away on the shelf there was a special edition of like an old one of Sherlock Holmes, all the
Yeah.
stories, and it was the edges were sprayed like gold, but then the book cover itself was made out of red velvet, which was pretty
Oh
sweet.
my.
I
Yeah.
have it
Did you
somewhere.
get it?
I did. Oh, I had to get it when I
You will
saw
you will
it.
have to share a photo of it.
Yes, yes. I'll have to find it and then I'll send you a picture of it. It was pretty cool. And I'm like, man, I got this for like probably technically like 5 cents or something, by the time you count how many books were in the bag. It was crazy. So yeah,
So
that was a cool find.
actually, I have a few actual secondhand books because I really enjoy going to the bookstores. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
that my latest treasure is that I found a copy of Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which is a
Oh,
book of Blade
nice.
Runner. And
Yes.
I was actually looking for the cover that is a poster of a movie, because I
Oh
have
yeah.
a weakness for those
Oh,
old posters that were
me
painted.
too. Me
Yeah.
too. Oh,
And
I
I
love
found it, and I think it was like $5 Australian
oh,
dollars. So it was
yeah,
quite
yeah.
cheap, you know.
Yeah.
And I was just like, little treasure, I'm going to take it.
I know. Nothing beats when you find something you've been wanting
Mm,
and it's at like
Yeah.
thrift store secondhand place, and it's such a good deal. It makes it even like,
Yeah.
I know. I
And
agree.
besides, sometimes in the secondhand bookstores, you can get books that are signed and that
Oh
they don't
yeah.
even the sellers don't even know that they are signed.
Yes.
You know?
I know, you like
Yeah.
almost give it to them like, don't open it. Yeah, this is crazy. This is only $1. Like, I
Yeah.
know. It's wild. It's fun. It's like a treasure hunt, you know.
Yeah.
I enjoy it.
I spend an irrational amount of time on secondhand bookstores.
Me too. Me too.
Mm.
We have that in common. All right, next question. When
Yeah.
you're writing, do you prefer it to be completely silent with no distractions, or do you like listen to a podcast or listen to music or have some kind of background noise on when you're writing? How do you like to do that?
Interesting. So when there is one story that is unpublished that it
Mhm.
had a lot of music on it, and I wrote it listening to music. But then in general, I need silence. I
Mhm.
need silence to the extent that I use earplugs so that
Okay.
I get silence. Yeah.
Yeah.
The white noise helps actually. It helps
Okay.
a lot as well. It helps more than the music. The problem with the music is that I have a very specific taste, and sometimes it doesn't fit what I'm writing, and then it
Right.
creates like
And
a
affect
dissonance. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I can
that's
see that.
why. So I rather just get the silence and get
Yeah.
like fully focused, because
Okay.
otherwise it's like music and my thoughts and the writing, and it's too much.
Okay. So when you say white noise, you just mean from silence, or do you actually listen to something that makes like a white noise sound?
No, something that makes a white noise.
Okay.
I have like a
Cool.
shushing noise or something
Yeah.
like that. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Does it like do you eventually, is it just like background noise? Do you not even really notice it anymore? Like after you first start it?
I
Because
think
you're
so.
so used
Yeah.
to it? That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's like it
That's
can
cool.
just go away, you know?
Yeah, that's cool. All right, so those are my questions for writing. So we're going to switch gears again, and I have a few questions in
Okay.
a minute that are about, so we can get to know you outside of writing a little bit. But before we do
Yeah.
that, we're going to play a game. So
Another dad joke.
no, I can tell
No.
you
Oh,
another dad joke if you want.
the rabbit one.
I'll tell you one more, and then we're
Okay.
going to do this game. It's called 1 Minute Mysteries. So
Okay.
I have these cards that have a case on them, and then they tell you what the mystery is that you have to solve, and then it'll give you some clues. So you and the
Okay.
chat can see if you can solve the mystery. But I will tell you another
Okay.
dad joke first. So there's some good ones in here. All right, so this time let's see. Do you want one about spaghetti?
Mm.
I don't like that one. That one's not good. Let's see. A bull or that one's bad. Or a cat.
Cat.
Cat? Okay. This is
Yeah.
really bad. This is really bad. This is really cheesy. Okay. What kind of sports car does a cat drive?
Hmm. A Corvette.
That's a good guess, but no. A Ferrari.
Ari. It's
Ferrari.
amazing. I actually like it.
I know. I do too. They're so bad, but I like them. All right. So let me make sure we haven't done these before. I don't think we have. Nope. Okay. So I've got 3 different cards here. We'll say 1, 2, 3. What do you want to go for? 1, 2, or 3?
Number 3. The one
3?
on your yeah, that one.
Okay. All right. All right. Here we go. So I will read you the case, and then we'll see what the mystery is. All right. Are you ready?
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Chat, listen in and shout out if you think you know what it is too. All right, here we go. The case. The deadliest animal in the United States roams the streets of a small suburban community. Every year, these animals kill more humans in various gruesome ways than any other species. Nonetheless,
Mm.
few humans are frightened of these animals. Instead, they admire them and even feed them. This one has some layers to it. All right, I'll read it again. The deadliest animal in the United States roams the streets of a small suburban community. Every year, these animals kill more humans in various gruesome ways than any other species. I'll do a little caveat as a hint. So every year, these animals either kill more humans or cause humans to die in various gruesome ways than any other species. Nonetheless, few humans are frightened of them. Instead, they actually admire and feed them. So what are the animals called and how do they kill humans? This one's kind of tough.
Yeah,
Okay.
I have no idea.
All right, I'll start giving you some clues, some of the clues. Usually as you go through the clues, they get a little more obvious. All right, so the first one is a little more general, but it says these animals do not have large claws or fangs. The animals do not drive cars, but they do like the wide open road. And these animals rarely attack humans. People think these animals are cute, and a lot of people hunt these animals. So these animals cause
I will say kangaroos if they are here in Australia, but that's not the case.
I know. And this one might be tough for you too, because if I don't even know, I don't think, I mean, these aren't in Australia, so that's kind of hard. Extra hard for you.
Yeah, I don't think I can. Yeah.
I know it's tough. Kangaroos would be a good one there. Do they go into like the roadways and stuff a lot?
It's very dangerous. Like you get some roads that actually you get kangaroos warnings. And if you drive early in the morning, they can just jump into, like they run towards the headlights. And there was on one of the cities that I lived, like every other day you will find a kangaroo dead on the road because somebody hit it. And if you have like they are pretty big. So if you have like small cars and they hit you, they can cause an accident. So that's what I assume.
Yeah,
they are pretty. They are hazards here. Yeah,
you are correct. You got it right. I'm gonna say, because the answer to this is the American version of a kangaroo, which is a deer.
Oh.
A deer, because deer do the same thing. We see them all the time, and they're cute, but they get into the road. You hit them with their car. We see them dead on the side of the road all the time. But if you hit them with a smaller car, they can do a lot of damage and cause bad things to happen. So you actually were right.
Almost fine.
You were. It counts.
I gave you the Australian version of the answer.
Yes, that's exactly the same thing. Like what you described was exactly what they were talking about. So round of applause. You got it. You solved the mystery. Good work.
I'm Sherlock.
You are. All right, so I just have a few questions. They're pretty simple, just to get to know you a little bit. So the first one is a pretty basic one, but what is your favorite color?
Purple.
Ooh, purple, I like it. I wondered with that sweet microphone right there.
I actually wanted to do my website on the white and purple, but then I said like, this is quite grim, dark and dark. And if I put up purple, it's going to look like very girlish, and it's not the audience that I'm looking for. So I went for a very muted purple just to try to disguise it.
That was smart. Yeah. Oh, I love that cover. From the first time I saw it, it was well done.
It's actually related to something that happens in the book. So it's related to both of the characters, and same that you have. I'm not sure if you can see that you have the in the cover.
I love that. Yeah.
And I did the same thing in dance because I'm a sucker of putting up details there. In dance, you have in the.
Oh yeah, I love that. That's so cool. Nice. Okay. So it's now. Let me make sure I'm right. So you have Dance with Me and Genesis of Change.
Yeah. So they are two different series.
Yeah. And then is the, I always pronounce it wrong. Is it Mean or Min? M-I-E-N? Mean, right?
Yeah, Mean.
Is that a book that you have a physical edition out there?
No, not yet. It's just in the interactive for now.
That's what I thought. I wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
That I wasn't. Okay.
I'm imagining that at some point I would like to novelize it.
Yeah,
but not for now.
Okay.
And even if Records of the Order, so the
Yeah.
series for Genesis and Mean, it
Mhm.
will have some interactive entries. I'm
Okay.
I'm planning for them to be always optional, so you can just
Okay.
skip them. Yeah.
Cool. Cool. All right. Well, anytime you have a physical book come out, I'm gonna look for that cool little thing on the back. I love that you do that. That's fun. All right.
I
Awesome.
like the covers that have smaller details, you
Yeah,
know?
that's cool.
Yeah.
I like that. All right. Next question is, what is your favorite food?
Cheese.
Cheese. I've never
And
gotten that answer.
everything.
Just as long as there's cheese, it doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Any kind of cheese or just certain cheese?
Mm,
Like,
I
what
like
about like,
mozzarella.
oh, okay.
Mozzarella is the one that I like the most, but yeah, generally as long as it is a tasty cheese,
Okay.
yeah,
So do you eat
it's
just
fine.
cheese on its own? Or
Yeah.
does it have to be okay? Like you eat mozzarella cheese on its own?
Um, Sometimes I did, but in generally, like for example, the Italian pizza, I love it, but it generally has too little cheese for me.
Oh yeah.
I end up putting up more cheese.
More cheese. Yeah, yeah. So you're like the commercial where it shows the waiter like grating the cheese onto something and they're just like, keep it coming, and it's like over their head piled up. That's you. Just keep it coming.
Yeah.
That's cool. Okay, very nice. I do like cheese as well. I'm with you there. I love cheese. All right.
It's one of the best inventions of mankind in terms of
It
food.
is. It is. I agree. And there's so many different flavors, so many different options,
Yeah.
so many different ways you can use it. And without cheese, I would have never probably ate vegetables when I was a kid. So, that's
Yeah.
that's how it goes. All right. Next one. We know that you are talented with writing and with illustrating,
No,
and
thank
with
you.
the podcast and everything you're doing. But tell us about a talent or a hobby that you have that maybe we don't know about that people might not know.
Um, I play music as well.
Oh, wow, you do? That's cool. Like what?
Yeah.
Like instruments,
I
singing? What do you do?
yeah, I play flute. So
Oh, no way. That's so cool.
yeah, I
Okay.
haven't played in a while, but yeah.
Okay. Have you always done that since like a young age, or is that something you picked up
Yeah.
later? Okay.
Yeah, and
Wow.
even if I haven't played in a while, like of course I can read music sheets and
Yeah,
everything. So
yeah.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, next time you come on, I want you to have something ready to play for us.
No. Nope.
I'm sure you're really good.
Nope.
No? Oh
Not
man.
eventually.
All right. All right. That's pretty
You
cool
should get
though.
that. But there are a few authors that I think you have interviewed them that are actually in a band, like Carl Forshaw
Oh
is in
yeah,
a
yeah.
band. You can get him to play.
That's true. Well, I can just have a bunch of you on and we can do our own band. And now I have a flute player. That's
I
really
think there
cool
was
though.
I think there was a Twitter thread like a month ago about doing
Oh,
an
really?
author band, and he was there. DB Rook as well. He plays,
Mhm.
I think, drums. Yeah.
Oh wow, that's cool. That is awesome. I didn't know that. So that's cool. Good answer. Next question is, and now I know the answer because you mentioned some games. So at one point in your life, you were a bit of a gamer. You loved to play games.
I'm
Um,
still a gamer.
I
Yeah.
would say, are you still? Because a lot of people always say, I used to be, but I don't ever get time. But you still make time for it?
Yeah. Especially the ones that I like, the ones that currently I'm more into the narrative games. So
Yeah.
games that
I love
actually
that.
have a storage, not
Yep.
just, yeah.
Yep. Same. So what's the most recent game you played that you enjoyed?
I think I came back to Don't Starve Together for the nth time. It's not a
Oh,
narrative, it's my exception, and I will keep coming to it because I love it. It's super fun.
yeah. I haven't played that one, but I know what game you're talking
It does
about.
have a story. So the
Yeah.
the one that you can play alone, Don't Starve
Yep.
Alone,
Yep. Alone.
that
Yeah.
one actually has
I
a
played
whole
that one.
story.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Together, it's a survival version and it's super
Oh
fun
yeah. Oh, that
because you
sounds
can keep killing each other and not surviving. So
fun. Oh, that is a cool
mm,
game. I love that
yeah.
like the art style and animation of that game too.
Yeah. I
So
like
cool.
that the characters have different instruments for their voices. I thought it
Yeah.
was quite clever. Yeah.
Yeah. That is cool. Um So what do you play that on? Do you do it on like PC or do you play it on a console or like a handheld? What do you play it on?
I always played on PC in my
Okay.
home country. Like getting a console, it was almost
Oh yeah.
impossible. And then I never got. I have like a better PC. I always had one. I
Oh
do
yeah.
play on mobile, but on mobile I tend to play like sillier games or things
Yeah.
that are more simpler, like
Yeah.
the Alpha or things like that. Like
Oh yeah.
something very quick, you know.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. I get that.
But in desktop I play a lot. Like my favorite game, it's Mass Effect, the original trilogy. Love it.
Nice.
And yeah. And the other one that I won't shut up about, the Halo series, I love the books
Oh,
as well. So
are the books, are they good?
the books are amazing.
Oh,
Like
I
I
should
think
read them.
it's one
I
of the
love that
best
game.
space operas that I have read.
What?
And
Really?
yeah,
Oh man. All right. I'm looking them up after
it's
this 'cause I always
super
wondered.
epic. Yeah, it's super epic. It's super good. The only thing is that you have to read some of the books, then play a game, then read a few
Yeah,
more books and play
because
another
they
game
connect
because
to the game story,
yeah,
right? Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. But then
That's
you
cool.
get other POVs that are not the Master Chief.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
you can get to see a
Cool.
lot of everything
Okay.
else that's happening. It's very large scale, you know, things that
Yeah.
happen like, and the world building is amazing. Yeah, I won't shut up. Sorry.
Oh,
I
please
really
talk
like the
about it.
Halo.
I find it
Yeah.
interesting because I love those games and I always wondered about the books and I wondered like, are they any good or is it only like talking about Master Chief or but that's cool to hear that it's really they're
Actually,
really good.
I think that you get very few books with a POV from the Master Chief. You get The Fall of
Cool.
Reach, I think
Okay.
Silent Storm and Oblivion, and then I don't recall others, but most of them are from the POV of other characters, or
Okay.
they go back to him and jump. And
Oh,
you even get some of the books that are only from the point of view of the Covenant, which is very interesting to
oh,
read
that
because it's a
is.
very interesting POV. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm definitely
Yeah.
getting some of those and checking them out. That's cool.
It's just like 30 plus books. So.
I know there's so many.
They are
Uh,
short because they are sci-fi. So
right.
in terms of
Agreed.
audiobooks, they are generally 8 or 9 hours. So they
Oh
are
yeah,
quite short.
that's
Yeah.
doable for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, very cool. Nice. Real quick, want to shout out Kale is here, just popped in. Good morning, friend. All right. My next question is, and you mentioned this a little bit too, but what are some of your favorite TV shows or movies that one that just are your favorite in general, but then maybe some that have inspired your writing through the years also?
So my favorite, Back to the Future. And if you see my
Nice.
Twitter line, I'm making jokes about the DeLorean like every other tweet. Being in
That's
Australia, I need one because I'm always in the wrong time zone. But yeah, I
right.
loved Back to the Future. Like I even have the Blu-rays because I love it. It's like a childhood movie, you know. Like
Oh
I
yeah.
keep watching it.
A
Yeah,
little comfort watch, yeah, for sure.
yeah.
Oh,
Um, I let me see what else. So from the newer series, I
mhm.
really like The Fall of the House of Usher. I
Oh,
read a lot of Poe when I was young, and
okay.
I really like him. I really like his writing in general. I think it's
Yeah.
very poetic,
Mhm.
and I also read him in Spanish, which was a whole thing on its own. And I thought that the series was a very nice modernization, tie-in, spectacular acting. So I really like that one.
Yeah.
And
Okay, cool, yeah. They look good. I
it's
didn't watch it, but I wanted to.
it's not horror, explicit horror. I think it's they are very subtle and they only show like some things is more like a scare jumps for there. But yeah, I thought it was a very, very nice series overall. And the characters were great, and Mark Hamill is also there, so it was good. And in terms of movies, I love Interstellar.
Ah,
Um,
that's a
I
good
really
one.
like that. Yeah. Um, Let me see. Tenet, I really like that
Oh,
one as
nice.
well. It was
Okay.
pretty thoughtful as well. And yeah, I actually watched it a few times. From superhero, since John, yeah, he was here. So I liked the trilogy, The Dark Knight Rises.
Oh, yeah. So good.
It's
It is. It is.
top-notch storytelling. I
Yeah.
like everything in those trilogies. And
Oh, it's so
I
good.
remember that my partner was telling me like, "You have to watch this trilogy," and I was just like, "Nah," and I'm not going to. Nah, I don't like it.
Yeah.
And then I actually watched it and it was amazing. I love the storytelling on that one. Yeah.
Oh, I agree. Oh, it's so good.
Um, it's very good. Yeah. I think it also subverts a bit of the tropes that or things that we can expect from Batman. So
Yeah,
it
that's
was
true.
nice. And let me see what else. So from the older ones, I really like Matrix, and I know it's an unpopular opinion, but I like the three Matrix movies. The first three, I really like them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I think that Reloaded and Revolutions, I think they are a bit more philosophical than the first one.
Oh
They
yeah.
have a few more things that you have to, yeah, like the whole conversation with the Merovingian and everything that he puts there.
Mhm.
I really liked it. I know it's
Me-
unpopular opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, I actually really liked it. I did too. I agree.
And the music on the second one and the third one is top notch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. Those were good. I do like those. I need to get those on some like Blu-ray or something.
Yeah.
I actually have like the VHS like set still. And I don't even have a VCR anymore, so I can't even just watch it whenever I want. But yeah, those were really good. I agree.
Yeah, they are.
Well, that's cool. You have a lot of heavy hitters on there that you like. That's cool.
Yeah. I actually went to see Dune as well, to watch Dune. But the problem with Dune is that it's a great movie, a great adaptation, but they left out of the movie some parts that I really liked from the
Yeah,
book.
I
And then
agree.
I got the book is better.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
No,
That's how I felt
the
too.
bookworm dilemma. The book is better. So
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I like you said. I thought it was a good adaptation. I enjoyed it. It was good, but yeah, the book still to me is better. I agree.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think it's also if they had just done, I don't know, two movies for the
Yeah.
first book or something,
Hmm.
or a bit more. I
Yeah.
thought, yeah, they needed more time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I agree.
it's
Some
a
things
great
seem
movie,
less.
anyways. The only
Yeah. Oh
thing is
yeah.
that it's purely subjective, you know.
Oh yeah. It is for sure. Well, and if you never
Yeah,
read the book, then the movie's great and you're gonna love it. So you're not gonna be like, oh, they
yeah,
should have done this, you know. But still, I mean, you know, as far as adaptations go, I agree with you. It's pretty good. Pretty good.
yeah,
Cool. Well, that is a lot of good stuff. So my last question has two parts. So first, um, reading wise, with everything you have going on, you still find time to read. What is
yeah.
your favorite? What's not platform? What's the word I'm trying to think of? What's your favorite way to read? Like physically, ebook, audio? What's your favorite way to read?
So I used to do a lot of audio in particular, and that was because I could do something else. You know, I could paint or do something.
Oh
So
yeah,
if I'm trying to paint or something, I will go for an audiobook.
yeah. Hmm.
And but generally for my podcast, I will try to go for either ebook or paperback because I need to annotate, and I
Right.
annotate a lot.
I could
Yeah,
see that.
um, that's why. And yeah, for the I think that most of the books I read as of late are ebook, but it's weird because I don't really like reading on ebook. I like reading on paperbacks. I
Yeah.
actually like paperbacks more than hardbacks,
Yeah.
which I know it's a bit unpopular.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
So
I
and
agree.
my
Yeah.
paperbacks end up all tabbed with all tabs in the middle. Yeah.
Oh man.
So
Yeah.
that's why I think I like the physicals in general better if I need to focus and take notes.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
Yeah,
Same. I like to.
especially because I can go back easily. With the paperback, I find it far more easy to just go back, see a
Yeah.
prior note, and then come
Right.
come
Yeah.
back to where I am. Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
something that annoys me of the ebooks is like when you have a map, and
Yeah.
then it's just like, how do I go back? I need to
Where's the
bookmark one,
map?
bookmark the
Now I need
other.
to get
It's
back to
like
my
so much
page.
effort.
I know. That's
Yeah,
so true. I know it would be so much easier if it was just like if they need to put a setting in there in like a ebook that there's a little tab at the top that has like where you're reading and then it just says map. You
the
just
map.
click on the
Yeah,
map. Anytime you want to go back and see, oh, where are they at right now?
I
Let's see. Yeah.
I remember one series that I was reading. I can't recall the series, but they were traveling quite a lot. So I just went to the author's website, pulled up the map, and sat down beside the computer to read so I could watch the map because I couldn't with the ebook. Yeah,
That was smart.
it's
That was a
pretty
good way to do
yeah.
it.
Yeah, but it's annoying. In the paperback or in the hardback, you can just open it and find it
Yeah,
there.
you
But
can just
yeah.
do it yourself. Yep, yep. I agree. I do like that. Um, and then my other question is, what are some? You mentioned some already, but what are some of your favorite books and some of your favorite authors that, same as with TV shows and movies, that you enjoyed that are just your favorite, but also that inspired maybe some of your writing as well?
So I generally like books that are highly allegorical, and as you can see, I don't shy away from controversial topics. That's V for Vendetta and George
I thought
Orwell's.
that's what that
So
was. Okay.
yeah, and that one actually, that whole shelf I have. Yeah, I have Fahrenheit. I think it's one of my favorite
Oh yeah,
books, and the
yeah.
thin one is Borges. I really like
Okay.
that one. And in this one, I have a lot of Napper, T.R. Napper, the cyberpunk author. I have a
Yeah,
lot of
yeah,
that.
yeah.
And I'm not sure if you can see it, but in the other shelf, I have the Book of the New Sun. I really like Gene
Oh,
Wolfe.
nice.
Like,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
I find it like it's a bit of a challenge. It's not
Yeah.
just, you are just not reading, you also have to figure out what he wanted.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
I like that
edition.
too. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
actually have a podcast episode on that edition.
oh,
I'm
do you?
hoping to, yeah, I'm
Okay.
hoping to read the second half later this year so that I can do
Oh,
an
cool.
episode of that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm planning to read the first part this summer and try it out and see how it goes. So I'll have to watch your
Yeah.
podcast after.
It's, I will say, like, just go without any expectations. It's a type
Yeah,
of book that it will give you a motivation and then will just forget about it and take you somewhere, because I think it's pretty realistic in the sense that life happens to the
right,
protagonist, and sometimes the goal ends up being like in the second level. So just let it take you somewhere. And yeah, I think he was an amazing writer. Just the writing may not be for everyone.
right.
The
Yeah,
style, the prose he
yeah,
had.
yeah. Okay, very cool. All right, I look forward to it.
Yeah, let
Awesome.
me know what you think after you
I
read it.
will. I will. I will. I'm excited to try it out. I already was, but now that I know you read it, I'm excited to check it out and then chat with
Mhm.
you about it. That'll be cool.
Yeah, it's the same. Not sure if you read the King Killer Chronicles, so the name of a wind.
No, I have
Nope.
it, but I haven't yet. I haven't yet. I
Oh,
just I
it's
I want to, and I have them, but like I'm just like I don't know. I keep pushing it further down the line because I know it's not finished. But I also
yeah.
I love the Song of Ice and Fire, and it's not finished. So it's like I just need to read it. You know?
No, I was making the comparison because both of them are frame narratives.
Yeah.
So you have a very old protagonist that is
Right.
narrating and their story. The only difference is that Rothfuss has both the present and the past line,
Okay.
while Gene Wolfe only has the present narrating the past, and that's it.
Okay.
So, but it's more or less the same idea. So
Okay.
in terms of setting, there aren't many similarities.
Okay.
So it was just for that. Yeah.
That's cool though, because I do like that setup of like the present past, and yeah, I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I don't think I knew that about this. Like I knew kind of the about the main character and stuff, but I didn't realize it was that timeline thing. That's cool.
Yeah, and I find it very interesting because I think Wolf did a great job in letting the judgment of the current character appear when he narrates his younger self. So
Okay.
that sometimes you get his reflections through the narrative, and getting how his younger self was is a bit difficult because you need to be like e- extrapolating from what you can see because it's an old person narrating his life, right?
Yeah,
So yeah.
that's cool. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's
Very
cool.
cool. I like it. Um, all right. Well, it is almost 10 o'clock where I am, and I just looked and it's been an hour and 18 minutes somehow. This has flown by. It's been a lot of fun
Yeah,
chatting with you.
I really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Me too. Thank you. So before I go through my ending thing, I'll give you the floor. Is there anything you want to say or shout out or share with the audience?
Yeah. So the Kickstarter for Dance With Me is currently open, and getting the hardback is actually quite affordable. It's just $28
Mhm.
American dollars, so you can take it. And we are going for the fifth stretch goal, so it is already funded, and that will be inserts short stories. So That's pretty nice. And if you want to read the book before committing, you can either read the interactive version, which is actually free in the app. So you install the app and that story is free. Or I also, on the Kickstarter, you will find a link to read the first scene for free on my Substack. So
very cool.
Either of those work. Yeah.
Awesome. All right. And all that will be linked in the description below. So if anyone wants to check any of that out, check it out. Kickstarter's down there. Go and back this. Let's get that next stretch goal met so we can get those extra stories.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you.
Well, yeah, you're welcome. And thank you again. This was a blast. And anytime you have something coming out that you want to come on and shout out, or if you just want to come on and chat, I would love to have you on again anytime.
Yeah, same. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Beasties, thank you in the chat. You guys were awesome. You were an awesome chat. If you're watching this on replay, we appreciate it. Thank you. And I will be back next week at some point. Keep an eye on my socials. I'll let you know when I have the next one. But until I see you in that next one, as I always say, Beasties, devour your TBRs, be brave, be beautiful to one another, and be beastly. We'll see you, everybody.